Hi YouTube and welcome back to my channel. So this video I am going to talk about friendships. A viewer of mine made a request to talk about my thoughts on friendships and how they evolve and change over time. And so I actually thought it was a pretty good video topic. So for most people, I don't know, okay, maybe not most people, but for a lot of people develop really close friendships, like meet in preschool and they're best friends forever, literally, and they have best friends, they're best friends throughout their lives and everything else. I've never been very good at forming friendships like that, and so I've always kind of had these like decent friends, good friends, close friends, but they kind of always kind of come and go in my life, and I never seem to have like one single person or group of people that have been with me as friends throughout my entire life. We just kind of come and go, into each other's lives and stuff. Facebook has changed that a little bit. I've been able to reconnect with people who had been really close friends of mine that we drifted apart, and now we're able to stay in touch even though we live thousands of miles apart now. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, just in general, lots of different circumstances of why I've never managed to have that one singular best friend that just stays with me forever and just gets me and stuff. But that ultimately I think is, that's actually another video, is I've done a lot more self-exploration. I think recently I did a video on being demisexual and sapiosexual, and I have made some additional I have come to an additional self-discovery, and am now going by some other labels as well, but that's another video, so I'm not gonna, I'll go into a tangent on that, and I do like to ramble, so I'm not gonna ramble about that right now. Just let it be that. But let's just say that these self-discoveries have made a lot of things in my life much more clear, including how I form friendships and whether or not how I hang on to friendships or not. I know I'm just being all sorts of cryptic, but stay tuned for the next video where I'll talk about this in more detail. Anyhow, so in terms of friendships, so some of when I was really little, I didn't have a lot of friends because I wasn't in school yet and there weren't any other kids on my block. I mean, there were some kids that were like 6 to 8 years older than me, but obviously they're not going to play with like a little 3-4-year-old. So that's not, so obviously the potential for friendships wasn't there. And I was living with my grandparents and my mom, and most of the people I hung out with were people that my grandparents knew, my landlady and her friends, and then some of the friends from our local church that my grandmother and my grandparents went to and stuff. So I was mostly around retired senior citizens in their 60s and 70s. So, but people I would have considered friends, I mean, I was a tiny child and they were adults, so I don't know if friends is the right word, but I would have long conversations with these people. I was always one that really loved having conversations, and so I remember having these long, I don't know if they made any sense to these adults, but I found them fascinating, even when I was just a really small child. And so obviously they were much older, and over time they passed away, which was very sad, but be that as it may, that some of my earliest friends were just much older people. Then I was living in Canada, because I was in Chicago, and then we were living in Canada for about 9 months, and I made some really good friends there. I think one person, his name was Alex, he and I were like best friends, and he would always share, he'd always have a piece of fruit, usually an orange, and he'd always share half of it with me during recess, and I would help him tie his shoes. And I don't know, we just hung out together, and we just always had a really good time together. And unfortunately, we moved back to Chicago, and so I never heard from him again. So there's that. Then I finally started school, the first grade in Chicago. A couple years later, my grandmother kind of forgot to send me because I think I was like 4 or 5 in kindergarten in Canada. I think they just started earlier or something. I don't quite understand the timeline there, but I was like 7, almost 8 when I first started first grade. And I think I was a year, like, I don't know. But I remember that the Chicago Public Schools called our house and, we have a record of this child being born, and is she still around, and, you know, why is she not in school? And so it was like mid-October at this point. So I was really late starting school. Thankfully I was already really good at reading, but my numbers and my math wasn't good, so anyway, another tangent. But I met a girl in first grade there. Her name was Tressa, and she became, for me, my best friend in first grade. Unfortunately, once we moved on to second grade, we were in separate classrooms. We weren't, I think, or was it third grade? We might have been in the same classroom first and second, and then after that got split up. But then in fourth grade, I transferred out because I was being bullied really badly. I mean, just to give you an idea of my experience in elementary school, the very first day I started school, like I said, I started late, and the class was just about to go to lunch, so the teacher put me at the end of the girls' line, because he had the girls' line and the boys' line back in those days, and so I was at the end of the girls' line, and we had to stop in the corridor to let another class pass at an intersection of hallways, and the girl who was walking in front of me, who I later found out her name was Angie, and if you remember me, but she just turned around and looked at me and said, "I don't like you," and punched me in the stomach. Just sucker punched me. And obviously I couldn't eat lunch that day, but that was sort of a precursor of everything else that I experienced in elementary school, where I was held down, I was kicked, I was punched, and I was like a head shorter than all my classmates, even though I was as old or maybe slightly older than most of them, but I was always really tiny. There was some malnourishment things going on there, among other things. But be that as it may, yes, I was bullied, and Tressa was really sweet, and she was really nice to me, and she would talk to me at lunch, and I don't know, I just really loved talking to her and spending time with her, and she was really, really smart, so we just kind of really connected. Unfortunately, she wasn't allowed to spend time with friends after school and things, and neither was I, to be perfectly honest. And then I transferred out, and I think I tried to call her house, but because I had her phone number, but her dad always picked up and just wouldn't let me talk to her, and so we just never got a chance to reconnect. Fun little side story to that is, years later, in 7th grade, I got the opportunity to take the SAT tests because I had a really high standardized test score for 7th grade. And so myself and several hundred other students from across the city of Chicago, we were all at Illinois Institute of Technology, or IIT, and we were in these big lecture halls, college lecture halls. It was the first time I ever saw a college lecture hall, and I was like, oh, I gotta go to college, I love this. Anyway, so here I am sitting in this big lecture hall waiting to take, you know, the practice SAT. It was actually literally, it was the SAT test. We were just 7th graders, and it wasn't gonna technically count. Anyway, one girl ended up coming late for, I don't know, but she was late, and there were no other seats available, so they had to drag out a desk out in front of the hall, the whole hall of people. They put this desk up next to the teacher's desk, the lecturer's desk, and they sit her down in that. You know, so here she is, poor thing, on display in front of, you know, 200-300 people, and I recognized her immediately, and it was my friend Tressa. So we kind of reconnected a little bit then, but unfortunately she still had her strict family and couldn't call. I tried a couple of times she gave me her phone number again, and I tried to call and talk to her, but it wouldn't let me talk to her, and so we drifted apart again. And it wasn't until I got onto Facebook that I was able to reconnect with her. So we have reconnected on Facebook, but she's in Chicago still and I'm in Colorado. So we interact as much as we can, but you know, it's just, it's after all this time and all this distance, and our lives have gone in so many different directions since then. You know, the potential of having been best friends throughout our lives, it just never happened, just because of circumstances. And after that, I really didn't get close to anyone my age again until high school. And there was another situation where I got really close to someone. Her name was Hwasung, and you know, again, just really built up a really good friendship. And we were friends throughout freshman and sophomore year of high school. But then again, her family moved. They went to California, and we wrote letters to each other for a while. But then that just kind of ended. So it's just on and on and on like that. It's like make good friends, you know, in the situation, you know, where we're at. But then eventually we just kind of drifted apart and just didn't stay connected. And I'm not very good at writing letters, and I would take weeks and months to write letters and things, and that's probably part of why we drifted apart. Facebook's been great because it allows me to kind of just post things about my life. People can see what's going on with me. You know, we can talk in the messenger thing, just all sorts of stuff. And so it's allowed me to reconnect with people in a way that I hadn't been able to before, which was great. And it allows me to stay connected, and people can see what's going on with me, and they can interact with me if they want to, or you know, if they're like, oh, you know, Gabby's turned into this very different person that I don't approve of anymore, whatever, then they can just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Because there's some people like, you know, we were really good friends years ago and really clicked at everything, but then, you know, either they became, you know, much more religious and I'm, you know, an atheist, or they've, you know, ended up having a few kids and I'm child free by choice, and so just not on the same level in terms of our lives anymore. No judgment against them, it's just their lives went in one direction, mine went into another, and we just don't click the way we used to. And that just seems to be the norm for my experience with friendships. And right now, most of my friends, thankfully, it's like it's kind of more stabilized now, because I'm not, you know, like in school where or moving, you know, I'm moving away or they're moving away. Everyone in my age group tends to be more settled down. We all own a house, you know, we all have stable careers, that kind of thing. And so there's a lot less of the moving around and things. And so our friendships are able to kind of stabilize and gel and last much longer. I have several friends now that I've been friends with for about 15 or 20 years that I met out here in Colorado. And again, you know, I'm settled down, they're settled down. And so we've had a chance to let those friendships blossom and grow and stuff. Along the same vein though, I've had people who I really felt very much were good friends of mine that last year after I lost my husband, those friendships completely crumbled after he was gone. I'm still completely baffled by a few of them. One in particular, I really thought in my mind that I was going to be able to really connect with her because she had lost her husband about a decade before through similar circumstances. And so I kind of was looking at her in terms of you know, hey, you know, we've been through this similar thing, you know, and I was hoping, you know, it was going to bring us closer together and bond, and because I really kind of needed that last year. And the exact opposite happened. All of a sudden, she just cut all ties with me, accused me of being a liar, even though she wouldn't tell me what I was lying about in her mind. And I don't know, that whole friendship just completely exploded, and I to this day I have absolutely no idea why. Not a clue. And it really upset me. I mean, I was already grieving over my husband, and now I was grieving over what I thought was a close friendship that ended. And so, yeah, so, you know, last year really kind of cemented for me who my real friends were, the people who stood by me and helped me. And I have had some very amazing friends, Bob and Sue in particular, who they were there for me for everything that I needed last year, and I could not have had better friends than them in terms of just everything, helping me sort through all of the stuff in the house, helping me with a garage sale last year, just kind of coming over and hanging out with me every weekend and spending time with me so that I wasn't alone all the time. I mean, I love my alone time, but I do need some human interaction once in a while. Otherwise I think I'll go off the deep end. So yeah, they've just been there for me in so many different ways, and I'm so grateful. And you know, I've actually known Bob for 20 years now, and I've known Sue for about 15, and you know, they kind of come as a unit these days. It's not Bob, it's not Sue, it's Bob and Sue. It's just one of those kind of friendships and things, and I just love that they've been there for me, and you know, I'm always open and willing to help if they ever need anything, but they're always the ones that are like going around helping everyone else in their circle of friends. That's just the kind of people that they are, and I'm just so grateful that they're a part of my life, and I hope that they continue to be for a very long time. So yeah, so that's kind of how my experience with friendships has evolved over the years, and I'm just kind of glad that it's kind of settled down and stabilized, and I just kind of have a really good solid circle of friends. It's a small circle, but that's okay. I don't need a huge circle of friends. I just need a few people to kind of hang out with. I have some other good friends that I spend once a week. We go to trivia, we play trivia together, sometimes we go out to dinner together, that type of thing. And so it's really nice now. It's nice and it's stable, and I like where I'm at with my friendships at this point in my life. Anyway, I think that about wraps it up, and like I said, I do have a plan for another video talking about some other self-discovery things, but I won't spoil it. I will let you, you'll know what I'm talking about with the title of the next video anyway, but I will let you be anticipatory. I'll let you anticipate what the next video is, and I won't promise how quickly I'll put it up, but when I'm in a good mental place, I will post that. All right, take care. Bye-bye.